Alright guys, we are back. This is CouchPotatoGM.com is the website. Couch Potato General Manager is the YouTube channel. You know it because you're on it. We're here to talk 2019 New York Giants.
Football Giants.
Football Giants preview.
Off-season preview.
Oh, clean it up for me. Thank you.
There you go, man.
Thank you. Teamwork, baby.
There you go, teamwork, man. But before we get into the off-season preview, we're gonna recap the New York Giants 2018 season. They had a new head coach, Pat Shurmur, came from the Vikings to the New York Giants. I like the hire. I thought that the offense would be, quick flowing. Eli can get the ball out of his hands quickly. The offensive line is not that good. They did add a Nate Solder in free agency, drafted a Will Hernandez. So the left side he thought would be better, but the right side was terrible. Eli Manning, yes, he got the ball out quickly, but that was a detriment because he just threw all his passes to Saquon. Didn't throw it down the football field. Odell Beckham was their best downfield passer.
He missed 4 games.
It was bad offensively, and Eli Manning is at the root cause of it. What you think about Eli Manning last season?
A lot of people listening, will point to the offensive line, and certainly, even Hernandez and Solder didn't have great seasons. They struggled. Hernandez being a rookie, we understand. Solder getting paid big money,
Sure.
big chips.
Did New England swindle?
I mean, they didn't trade or anything like that.
But
I think New England, their ability to get Trent Brown and how well he played, and
then
enough about New England.
Sorry.
Yeah. Nate Solder didn't necessarily live up to the billing, but the hope is ultimately he's gets comfortable in his new environment, his new setting with his new offense, and he plays up to the level that we've seen him play to in the past. A lot of the issue outside of the offensive line, which again was a huge issue and still needs to be addressed, was the fact that Eli Manning was just not getting rid of the football. There were plays that they would show Sherman on the sideline pantomiming, throw the football. You know what I mean? And for whatever reason, whether it be Eli, just the cumulative nature of all the hits he's taken over the years, being punched, he wouldn't let it go. And then ultimately, when you needed him to push the ball down the field, he did exactly what you said. He felt more comfortable checking it down. And once you start seeing that rush, you're done. You're done. And that doesn't change the fact that Eli Manning is a 2-time Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Hall of Famer?
Probably will. The championships will probably get him there. You know what I mean? But there's been a lot of peaks and valleys throughout Eli's career, and he is. I mean, this is a valley. This is a valley. He's not playing good football, but I think Eli Manning does still hold a certain level of value in terms of helping a young quarterback develop. I think we all anticipate the Giants going to draft, probably being the first team, unless someone moves up in front of them, to select a quarterback in this draft. Ideally, they have a lot of needs. They have a lot of needs. So being able to kind of take a step back, trade back and get not only that quarterback, but some additional draft capital would be great. But the reality is, having drafted Saquon Barkley, who deservedly, NFL Rookie of the Year, should have been All-Pro. Hard to pass up that kind of talent. Special player. Heather, you talked about it. If you had a chance to do it all over again, you're taking Saquon again. I wasn't so enamored with any quarterback in the class that suggested there's no way you can take Saquon. There was a chance. It may not necessarily have been the most prudent decision, but you know what you have there in Barkley. So in 2019, I'm not expecting the Giants to be a huge player in free agency. They have about, $25 million in cap space right now. Landon Collins is an unrestricted free agent. They have a lot of money tied up in just a handful of players. Kareem Martin, Rhett Ellison, these guys are, not huge contributors, making top 10 money on this team. You know what I mean? And there's not a whole lot of flexibility that, we can get rid of that and that'll relieve us and we wouldn't have a considerable amount of dead cap space outside of Eli Manning. Now, of course, that wouldn't go over well in New York. So again, the value there is what can Eli Manning do in helping bring along a young quarterback?
I agree with you, man, that Eli Manning definitely should pass that torch, and I think he's a good guy to pass that torch. We've seen Kurt Warner do it late in his career for Eli Manning, so Eli can return the favor and draft a Dwayne Haskins, a Daniel Jones, Drew Lock. Dwayne Haskins, he's a pocket quarterback. He wins the game from the pocket just like Eli Manning does. If you get a line to protect him, he could do damage with Odell Beckham, Sterling Shepard, Evan Engram, Saquon Barkley out of the backfield. There's a lot of weapons on this football team, but the quarterback's a main issue and the offensive line's an issue also. I think they need more help on the defensive side of the football. The defensive side of the football, they got that front three. I like that. Olivier Vernon, pass rusher. I like that. But other than those guys, Landon Collins, if they bring him back, that's a plus. Janoris Jenkins struggled last season. They need a corner opposite Janoris Jenkins. Betcher, he runs this aggressive 3-4 defense where you need guys to cover. So I think you need a corner, another pass rusher. The linebackers can't really cover. I think Goodson plays some good ball, but, Ogletree is a shell of his former self.
But just looking at this football team, man, like you said earlier, it's the way they structure all these contracts, it's punishing them, and they've kind of backed themselves into a corner. And with the $25 million that they have, in my personal opinion, I think they have to bring back Landon Collins, because if you don't bring him back, that's a hole. And anybody they could release that's making money outside of Eli, it hurts them.
You still got to fill the roster.
There's dead money.
You still have to.
But you're relieving cap space. But they're almost even in terms of what you're giving up. So I don't know if that's worth it if you just roll with what you got and you just gotta maybe, I don't want to say eat this season, but you might have to eat this season and I mean, I'm almost in the camp of trade down. But I know grabbing the quarterback at 6 is the plan. But you don't have a 3rd round pick. You got 2 4th round picks, 2 5th round picks, and 3 7th round picks. I'm trying to figure out where can we get quality players, and most of your picks are on day 3. You gonna find the gems? We gonna dig up the diamonds in the rough. I mean,
yeah, they're in a tenuous situation. You know what I mean? And I don't think it would be. I think it might be a little bit different if they had the quarterback in tow.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But again, when you talk about what Saquon Barkley has already proved that he can do, and it's hard to argue with that selection. That being said, it doesn't necessarily change your cap situation, particularly if you're anticipating Eli Manning coming back. You know what I mean? To your point, you mentioned that you might have to eat this particular season. They truly have to hit on some of those day 3 picks. They need to be able to find a couple starters on day 3 because of the nature of how things are built out. You talked about how the contracts were structured. They were able to get from underneath the Damon Harrison because they were able to make that trade, make that move. But ultimately, there's so many holes, and of course, most people are going to focus on the ball when they're watching the game. They're going to focus on the ball, and they're going to focus on the fact that Eli Manning struggled, right? But to your point, there are issues along the offensive line. They don't necessarily have a proven pass rusher opposite Olivier Vernon. There are questions on the back end. You know what I'm saying? The questions at the second level. There's so many, and I don't know that they have the caps flexibility. All right, and the needs that they have. And when I say needs, generally a team wants to draft best player available, right? Yeah. But when you have a need at quarterback, that changes the entire landscape. It's not as if they can go out and play around and get Nick Foles to be a bridge or maybe even go the Teddy Bridgewater route or whatever the case may be. They don't necessarily have the cap flexibility to do that. So you have to take advantage of drafting a quarterback in the 1st round, all right, and getting that 5th-year option to allow yourself enough time to truly evaluate and assess that player and then ultimately decide whether or not you want to make that long-term commitment. Plus, you get your quarterback relatively cheap that way. So I think the way I look at it, the way I view this offseason is you got to look real hard at your current roster and say who can we keep and at what price? Who's worth keeping and at what price? And the main guy that comes up is Landon Collins, all right? And then beyond that, we got to get this quarterback, all right? Now, an argument can be made, okay, who's the guy? All right, do we think there's enough separation between, Haskins and maybe Locke that we could trade down and feel comfortable with either one? You know what I mean? But then again, if you're the first team, let's say nobody trades up and go grabs a quarterback, all right? And you have your pick of the litter. Don't you go get your guy?
You go get your guy. I always say that.
Let me give you a alternative one. See what you guys think about this. Next year's quarterback class. Why not get you best player available at number 6? Run Eli Manning out there one more year. And then look to get a quarterback next season when you got the Tuas coming out. The Herberts of the world, man. You got these quarterbacks coming out next season.
I don't know, man. If I'm a fan, I ain't trying to hear that, man.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm trying to
I'm
win.
asking.
You know, I'm trying to, make a run with my team.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. You kind of have to take a look at, how many years are left on some of these existing contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Because now, okay, after this year, now we're starting to have conversations about, Sterling Shepard. Are we bringing him back?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Evan Ingram's getting closer to the end of his contract.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, that's another year lost because of Saquon, in terms of Saquon Barkley being on a rookie contract. It's you got to make some decisions here. You know what I mean? And who's to say that you're going to get Tua?
Yeah,
who's to say that you're going to go get those guys in the first place?
A lot of teams are going to covet him.
Exactly. So you can't bank on that. You know what I mean? And unless you feel like this draft class just clearly does not have the caliber of quarterback that I want to work with, and now I'm speaking from Pat Shermer's perspective, that there's not a guy here that I can develop, even with our talented weapons. Of course, we got to address the offensive line. I don't want to kind of cascade over that, but certainly with our weapons, there are guys here who can make the plays. I can put them in position to be successful. It's also about relieving yourself in terms of not just the future at the position, but cap space in general. Now you have a quarterback in place. You get your pick of the litter. For all intents and purposes, the Giants will likely, may not necessarily, somebody may leapfrog them, but they're likely to have their pick of the litter at quarterback.
Yeah.
All right? And now you have a little bit of room to work with, going into 2020. You understand what I'm saying? You're not then back at the table again. All right, we got to get our quarterback. Now, where are you drafting? If Odell stays healthy all 16 games, you drafting in the top 10? Maybe not. You might be 13 or 14. You know what I'm saying? That changes the dynamic of things. So to me, if there's a quarterback that Pat Shermer feels that we can win with, I can develop and we can win with, go get him. Don't waste any time.
Let me throw this at you. You draft Haskins or Locke or
Daniel
Jones at 6. Get your guy. You got your guy.
Mm-hmm.
Are you keeping Eli on the roster? Like, say you have the plan that you're going to draft one of these quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Are we cutting Eli because I understand that you said, earlier you said, hey, he could help mold this guy, this, that, the other. Are we cutting Eli because we need cap space and we want Landon Collins and we want to do some other things? We might be able to get a free agent, 2 or 3 free agents to come in because we need we need a right tackle, we need a right guard, we need a player probably at every level of the defense that's so. I want to be competitive. I want to put a good product on the field. I don't know what that means. I don't know where that's going to get me.
Yeah.
But I just know I'm not trying to roll out there with what we got going on right now.
So of course, there are a couple of things that you're weighing here.
Mm-hmm.
Namely, the fallout. There are a lot of New York Giants fans and that they don't care that Eli doesn't have it anymore. That he's just not effective anymore.
Yeah.
All right.
Correct.
And the likelihood of the Giants being able to put a offensive line in front of him that will allow him 3+ seconds to make decisions and push the football down the field, it's unlikely.
Yeah. It's
just at this juncture, it's not. We talked about the cap situation. They're not going to be able to do that. So, ideally, if you take the emotion out of it, it's cold, hard, calculated math. Yeah, you would have about $6 million of dead cap space, but it frees up $17 million, and you're trying to build and maximize, guys like Odell and their prime and whatnot. I mean, it's something that I don't think the Giants can afford not to consider. Of course, the report suggests that Eli Manning will be back. And they probably just want to avoid the media firestorm and all of that. And like I said, there is value there. There's still value in Eli being a part of this team. But in terms of how quickly they can become true contenders in the NFC East, and anything is possible. Don't get me wrong. But being realistic from my perspective, in terms of them being contenders in the East, the sooner they get from under Eli's contract, the better.
I agree. Giants fans, how do you feel about your team? How do you feel about the roster? What moves would you make? Who are you grabbing with the 6th pick? Would you trade down? You don't have a 3rd round pick. You know, what is your feelings? You know, offensive line, what are we doing on the right side? You know, let us know. Hit us up in the comment section.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Is in the building.